Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really diving into something quite specific. It's a unique financial forecast aimed at Capricorns for this November, but honestly, the sources frame it much bigger. They're calling it a masterclass in strategy.
It is. It's a very detailed roadmap they've laid out.
Yeah, the promise is pretty clear. Long-term wealth. But only if you, the listener, really lean into that natural discipline and ambition to, well, clear out the old financial clutter.
The sheer level of detail is striking. A three-pronged strategy based on the data we have. They call it an unshakable foundation.
Okay.
But let's hold on. The critical question here, I think, is whether this strategy needs the cosmic timing they suggest, or is it just really solid financial advice dressed up nicely?
The poetic framework, maybe?
Perhaps. Either way, the data points to three distinct steps.
Right.
A mandatory detox, then strategic partnerships, and finally, precision, a precision mindset. Okay, let's get into it.
Absolutely. So step one is this mandatory financial detox. The forecast ties this to a major Mars retrograde in Leo, apparently activating the 8th house. Now, for listeners maybe focused more on pure business strategy, that might sound like jargon. So let's translate. What's the 8th house, strategically speaking?
Right. If you look at what the documents actually require you to do, the 8th house is basically where your money gets complicated with other people. Think pooled resources, shared financial stuff, joint accounts, taxes, maybe inheritances, definitely loans, anything intertwined.
Where things get messy.
Exactly, where it gets deep and potentially messy. And Mars, normally the planet of forward action, going backward retrograde in that zone, the forecast says it demands an immediate, unavoidable look at all those shared liabilities.
That is quite specific for a forecast. The actions listed are very concrete. Go through every bank statement, consolidate debts, try to renegotiate loans, sort out taxes. It's practical stuff.
It is.
But why does the retrograde make it mandatory now? I mean, couldn't you just, say, put off consolidating debt until January?
Well, that's where the interpretation gets interesting, doesn't it? Mars's energy, when it's retrograde, is supposedly turned inward. It forces reflection, yes, but also forces you to confront existing problems head-on. Connect that to pure strategy. The thinking is you simply can't move forward effectively with building new wealth, which is pillar 2, until this foundational layer of shared finances is squeaky clean.
Right.
The source material is explicit here. It says old issues, maybe with a spouse's account or a business partner's finances tied to yours, they will come up. They demand resolution. You need a clearer, more equitable arrangement.
They use that analogy, the pruning one. Like pruning a tree, you cut away the dead branches so the healthy parts can actually grow. That seems very fitting here.
It is a good analogy. You're not just tidying up a spreadsheet. You're potentially redrawing financial lines in your most significant relationships.
Which brings us back to your critical point. Yeah, okay, the advice itself, review debt, talk about shared money, sort taxes, that's just good financial hygiene, isn't it?
Undeniably. Sound advice anytime.
But the source implies you need this celestial nudge, this Mars retrograde, to actually do it.
Which does raise that fascinating question, right? Why do we, or why do businesses, often wait for some external pressure cooker, a crisis, or in this case, a cosmic call, to tackle these necessary but difficult conversations?
What?
The document essentially argues this alignment makes procrastination impossible. It forces the issue.
So it provides the deadline and maybe the motivation for what might be, let's face it, pretty uncomfortable work.
Exactly. Painful but necessary, as you said.
Okay, so once that's done, once the foundation is clean, the shared debt is handled, then the forecast shifts. It gets more positive with pillar 2, leveraging key relationships.
Yes, the energy completely changes here. We move from that intense, almost restrictive Mars pressure to the expansive, more generous vibe of Jupiter. The source material puts Jupiter in Cancer, moving through the 7th house. That's the zone of one-on-one partnerships.
Right. And this is where the forecast promises blessings and wonderful opportunities, often coming through partners, clients, key business contacts, maybe even a spouse.
That's the idea. It suggests you'll attract people who are, and I quote, generous, supportive, and aligned with your goals.
Okay, I have to ask then, if Jupiter is supposedly sending these great supportive people my way, does that mean the hard part, the vetting, is done for me? Why the need for caution still?
See, that's the nuance. That's where the strategy connects the dots. Think about it. The reason the Mars detox in the 8th house shared funds was so critical is because Jupiter in the 7th partners is bringing people to you. You need that clean financial house before you invite these potentially valuable people in. Otherwise, any new resources could just get swallowed by old problems.
Okay. So resolve the internal mess before you try to expand externally. Makes sense.
Precisely. Jupiter offers the opportunity, the chance to connect. But the documents are very clear. Success here is very much tied to the quality of your key relationships. It's not automatic.
So you still have to choose well.
You absolutely still have to choose wisely. You have to do the human due diligence. The universe might line things up, but you have to make the right calls.
So it's definitely not a cosmic lottery ticket. It's more like an acceleration of potentially good opportunities, but your own effort, your discernment, determines if they actually stick and pay off.
Exactly. If you skipped pillar 1 or did a poor job of it, a fantastic opportunity from pillar 2 could just create more chaos if it lands in a messy financial situation.
It's all connected.
It's presented as a conditioning period. The setup is there for success, but only if you meet it halfway with, well, discipline and careful thought. The source is pretty tough on this. Strategic alignment, not a guarantee. You have to be sharp.
And, speaking of being sharp and focusing on high-quality analysis, the level of detail in these strategic notes is, I think, what makes this kind of deep dive really valuable for you, the listener. So if you are finding this translation of strategy helpful, maybe just pause for a second and show some support. It really helps us out. Take a moment like this deep dive. Perhaps drop a comment. Tell us what surprised you most about this forecast maybe. And definitely subscribe so you don't miss future deep dives like this one. Your support lets us keep digging into complex stuff and making it actionable for you.
Okay. Shall we move to the third and final pillar of this strategic masterclass?
Let's sharpening the tools of wealth. This one's attributed to Saturn.
Saturn, yeah. For Capricorns, that's the ruling planet, now in Pisces, apparently, and transiting the third house.
The third house. That's communication, right? Learning, mindset.
That's generally it, yes. Communication, learning, the whole mental framework. And Saturn is, well, Saturn. Tough, demanding. It wants precision, discipline, thoughtfulness. The forecast literally warns, your words have weight.
So Saturn demands structure. And here it's putting structure on how you think and talk.
Essentially, yes. Applying structure to your communication and learning. Strategically, this translates into a clear mandate. You need high-quality, structured communication, rigorous learning. It's about building the internal intellectual machinery to actually manage the wealth that Jupiter might be bringing in.
Okay, so this is the mental game then, the competence check.
Yeah.
But how does that, careful communication really link to building wealth? It feels a bit separate from the debt cleanup and the partnerships.
But it's the crucial safeguard, isn't it? Look at the specific actions the data suggests for this phase.
Right.
Perfecting a presentation, being incredibly careful with contract details, actively studying something that directly boosts your career or business. This isn't just fuzzy self-help. Imagine you've done the hard work with Mars, cleaned up the debts. You've landed a great deal with a supportive partner thanks to Jupiter. What derails that?
A mistake. A misunderstand.
Exactly. A poorly worded clause in a contract. A presentation that misses the mark. Sloppy communication leading to confusion. Or worse, legal trouble. That's where Saturn comes in.
So the precision Saturn demands is basically future-proofing, preventing you from accidentally messing up the gains from the first two steps.
That's precisely how it's framed. The source material emphasizes this whole thing isn't a flashy sprint. It's methodical, step by step. Eliminate weaknesses, reinforce strengths. If your communication is precise, if your contracts are solid, if your presentations are bulletproof, then the financial structure you're building rests on that unshakable foundation they keep mentioning.
Okay.
This last pillar ensures that even after the debt is clear, Mars and the partners are potentially there, Jupiter, you have the mental rigor, the sheer competence to sustain it long term.
This really does sound less like astrology and more like a high-level executive coaching program, just wrapped in planetary language. It requires immense focus.
It's presented as the ultimate test of that Capricorn archetype, really. Discipline, ambition, structure. Saturn is acting like the ultimate accountability partner here, demanding that natural discipline gets channeled into the right things. Structured learning, precision, clarity.
Okay, so let's wrap this up for you, the listener. What's the actionable takeaway here? It seems we have a pretty robust three-point strategic plan. First, use that Mars push. Fearlessly clean up the shared finances, the debts. That detox, it's mandatory according to this.
Non-negotiable first step.
Second, leverage those potentially strong, profitable partnerships Jupiter might bring, but strategically. Always vetting, always being careful about the quality.
Opportunity plus discernment.
One third, use Saturn's demand for focus. Sharpen your communication, you're learning your whole mindset. Relentless discipline in the details.
It really is a remarkably detailed, effective checklist for financial optimization laid out in these documents. And the strategic value you can get from this deep dive, honestly, it doesn't hinge on whether you buy into the planetary timings or not. The value is right there in the actionable steps themselves, that rigorous masterclass approach.
Which, yeah, brings us right back to that core question we started with. If this whole masterclass depends entirely on your hard work, your discipline, your meticulous attention to detail anyway, what's the real value of the cosmic framework layered on top? Is it just the kickstart, the motivation you needed to finally tackle that shared debt pile? Or does the timing itself offer some kind of crucial edge for actions you were maybe already considering?
That's the interesting point to ponder, isn't it? How much is framework, how much is timing, how much is just solid advice?
Something for you to think about. Keep applying that critical lens to all the information out there.
Indeed. Well, thank you for joining us as we picked apart this particular strategy document.
Yes, thank you. And if this episode did help clarify maybe your own strategic path forward, please do make sure you like this deep dive. Comment with your thoughts maybe on that cosmic timing question. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss our next analysis. We'll see you next time on the deep dive.